Hey guys, what's up? Barkman Hobo here. 2020. What a terrible year that was, huh? Well, it was a bad year not just for me, but for basically everybody. And I had a friend of mine who was ranting to me about what a terrible year it was for him, and at the time I was kind of thinking, what did I want to do for my anniversary special? Well, he was saying, oh man, the only thing that makes this year worse is an apocalypse. It got me thinking. So I put out a poll, and I had you guys vote on it. What should I do for my anniversary, I asked. Should it be an apocalyptic game, a bad game, or a bad game about the apocalypse? Well, I closed the poll on New Year's Eve night, and the results are in. You guys wanted to see a bad game about the apocalypse, and here's one of the worst, they say. Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green. Now, rumor is, this is one of the worst, if not the worst, first-person shooter on the original Xbox. Is it though? I guess that's what we're finding out today. So, is Land of the Dead one of the worst games on Xbox, or has it been unjustly framed? Let's find out. It's time to Hobo up! Well, interesting factoid. This game is based on the George A. Romero film. See? It says it right there. But it has a separate story that actually runs parallel to the movie. So, let's dive into that. The story follows this guy. He's never referenced by name, so we'll just call him Farmer Bob. So, this is the story of how Farmer Bob wound up in Fiddler's Green. It starts at the end, goes back to the beginning, and then works its way back to the end. It's not much of a story, but it's really just a means to push the game along. It works, I guess. Gameplay for Land of the Dead is a first-person shooter, where you'll need to accomplish your objectives, kill the zombies, and reach the end of the level. Oftentimes, you'll have to kill a certain quota of zombies to progress, and this happens often. So, let's talk about your arsenal. You start off with a revolver and a .22 rifle to start with, but you gradually get more as you go, and ammo is littered around each level, so as long as you're looking, you should be able to find ammo for your guns. Aside from the guns, you also get melee weapons, but you can only carry one. There's different types and they each do different things, such as a golf club, a baseball bat, and a fire axe, etc. The golf club is the longest and can keep enemies further away while you're hitting them, and the fire axe can decapitate them, to mention just a few, so just experiment and see which one you like. Should mention, I barely ever use my melee weapon, and I had the fire axe for basically the whole game, but you might find more use out of it than I did. The zombies are constantly coming after you, so you have to do certain things. You can get cornered, but you should be able to fight your way out if you know what you're doing. And always remember to shut doors behind you when you go places, because A, it'll slow the zombies down, and B, you'll hear them coming. So it helps. So also, you can shoot through doors, but that destroys them, so be wary of that. And you'll have to be checking desks and cupboards and whatnot to keep things out. This is one of the gripes I have with the game, because the action button is very finicky. You'll be trying to interact with one thing and interact with something else. If there's multiple things in one place to interact with, it's going to take a little bit to be able to get what you need. And sometimes you absolutely need to do this to find needed items to progress, but mostly it's just ammo and such. It's annoying, but not the end of the world, I guess. Aside from ammo, you can also find health laying around in large medical kits or in pill bottles, and it's better to hold on to these for you need them. Although, I did find myself grabbing them even if I didn't have a lot of health lost, because I never know when I'll find another one. And there's also other smaller weapons like Molotovs and grenades, but I only ever use like one Molotov and 0 grenades. Still, they're there, and I guess if you need them, they can help you out. Again, I only used one Molotov. Hit detection is pretty good, except for one instance we'll get to later. The zombies do get hit when I shoot at them. The crosshair is extremely helpful. If that crosshair is over the zombie when I shoot, it will hit them. And they also do hit me quite a bit, and it's responsive there too. See, when you get hit, you get knocked down, you're stunned, and that can leave you vulnerable. And there are also multiple types of zombies, like the walkers and the crawlers, and the radioactive ones, I mentioned just a few. The radioactive ones are annoying, because if they hit you, you're basically in a state where you keep taking damage, and then you can't really do anything to stop it, it just goes away on its own. That could mess you up if it happens at a bad time. Now, the controls are responsive, but you're never told what button does what, so you kind of have to figure that out on your own, but that's not too hard. So, remind me why this is called the worst game ever? It's not great, but it's not that bad. But well, there are a couple more flaws I'd like to go over real quick. So, strap in. So there's a sewer section where Farmer Bob will need to swim through some water, but the water's really murky and it's actually really hard to tell that you're going forward. I thought I was getting pushed back, so I would turn around and go back another way, then realized I couldn't, so go back in the water, and eventually I realized I was going forward and I was able to get past that part. So that kind of needed to be ironed out a little bit. But that does not compare to the next and worst gripe of this whole freaking game! The turret section. Good lord, this is the worst part of the entire game. Okay, so, it's a turret section. Now, those aren't uncommon in shooters, and it's the kind that if one thing gets by you, you fail. Again, wouldn't be so bad if it weren't for the fact that, well, look at this. I am pointing at the zombie and it is not freaking hurting it. You tell me what part of this gun has to be facing the zombie to actually hit it. Sometimes I hit it, sometimes I don't. And you know what? They took away the crosshair. Say what you will about this game, but the crosshair was extremely helpful, and up to now, the hit detection has been pretty good. But now, I swear I'm pointing right at them and it's not hurting them. Okay, look. I realize this is towards the end of the game, so yeah, they want to make it harder. But there are ways to make things organically harder without resorting to cheap crap like this. So, you could have kept the crosshair, but you know what? It's not a great section. And sure, there are some exploding barrels to help you, but once you shoot them, they're gone. The only way I was able to get by this was used to kill all zombies cheat. Yeah, I had to resort to cheating to get past this part. How's that fair? This is definitely a thing that needed more time in the oven, or taken out entirely. This was irritating. I did get past it. I'm sure if I had given myself more time, I could eventually get past it without cheating, but I don't want to. This part is the worst part of the entire game. Ugh. I get frustrated just thinking about it. Okay, I feel better. Sorry about that. But really, those two sections are really irritating. However, if people are saying that those are the reasons this is the worst game ever, well, that's kind of overblown. A couple of bad sections does not a bad game make. Let's keep going. So, I forgot to mention this earlier, but you can sprint. Farmer Bob can in fact sprint, however he gets tired very quickly. Keep in mind, he's not really a warrior or anything, as far as we know, and he's carrying all these weapons, so I can't really imagine he can sprint forever. It would be nice if he could sprint longer, but it is handy if you do find yourself in a situation and need to make a hasty retreat. There's that at least. For presentation, this game is it's not great, but it's not horrible either. So the environments are all very well done. They're very disheveled, they're covered in blood, and there's these dead bodies that may or may not turn out to be zombies taking a little nap. So there's that at least. The music is really creepy and very atmospheric, which is good because it really does set the tone. I actually felt the chills for some of these songs. The voice acting is alright. Farmer Bob never speaks during the game, but his voice during the cutscenes is done up well enough. So, overall, this game doesn't look great, doesn't sound great, nor does it look or sound horrible. It's definitely not pushing the hardware, but hey, it does this job fine enough, I suppose. The sound design here is pretty well too. The moaning of the zombies can be really creepy, especially when there's a whole ton, and the gunshots all sound like gunshots, so that's good. The shaking of the pill bottles and stuff when you take the health. Honestly, like I said, this is not looking or sounding great, nor is it looking or sounding terrible. It does its job, it tells the story it needs to tell, but, you know, this is the Xbox, it was capable of better, but in the end, I guess we can't fault it too hard. I mean, we could, but I'm not going to. I mean, you do you.
3, 2, 1. So, that's Land of the Dead, Road to Fiddler's Green on the original Xbox. How is it? Let's look at it and see. How's gameplay? Honestly, the badness is pretty overblown here. I mean, the aiming is fine, except for that stupid Gatling gun. And the hit detection is fine, except for that stupid Gatling gun. And the interaction is kind of annoying, but aside from that, the game works fine enough. I mean, when I was pointing at a zombie and shot it, I hit it if the crosshair was over it. And it's cool how the different melee weapons do different things. But yeah, it works for the most part. And I just thought that, you know, the badness, like I said, is overblown here. It is not that bad. How's the presentation? Well, the graphics aren't exactly pushing the hardware, but they get the job done. The music is appropriately creepy. The voice acting is fine enough, I suppose. I mean, guys, no, this is not that bad. Then again, let's not mix our words, it's not that good. So what can that get this game? Anything but decent. So, I went into the game expecting the worst first-person shooter on the original Xbox. I didn't find it. You know, there are a lot of other contenders for that title, and maybe one day we'll check out a few more. But that's for another time. Come back next month when we get a little combative. Until then, this is the Bargain and Hobo saying, be brave, dare to play. Hobo out! Three, 2, 1. So that's Land of the Dead. Really, dog? Really? So I went into this game looking for the worst person